Bigger Talks, Bigger Talks. We're back again. We're here at Soho House, and we got Veronica Drouila, lifestyle entrepreneur from New York. She talks about dating, and she also talks about the experiences of going to different restaurants and dining in like locations like DC, New York, LA. And today we have the privilege to have her on the podcast and have a bigger conversation about all things. By the way, she's also the founder of the Noah Collective, a swimwear brand that she created. How long ago was this?
So this was in November of 2021 is when we launched.
got
So
it.
kind of like a different launch date for a lot of swimwear brands.
Yeah.
But I think it was honestly really fun because it's based in New Orleans and it's
Right. Because you're from New Orleans. And
right,
you went to
exactly.
Right.
And it's warm weather all the time down there, so it was crazy because we just didn't expect to have such a great audience from the get-go, but our community really supported us. And they were wearing us on all of their vacations and tagging us on Instagram, and now we have people that wear it all over the country, which is super cool.
Well, congratulations. But we
Thanks.
get more into that later in the episode. But before we move forward, give people a little bit of like, who are you, where you come from, and like your entrepreneur, lifestyle entrepreneur. What is like your expertise and what is it that you do that you love doing?
Yeah, so I kind of jumped headfirst into the entrepreneurship space whenever I was getting my MBA from George Washington University in DC. And we have that DC connection because I know you're a Baltimorean. And basically, I graduated from LSU for undergrad, and I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. I thought I wanted to be an attorney my entire life, and ended up working at a law firm as like a runner, which honestly,
what is a runner?
so yeah, you're not like physically running, but honestly, kind of your brain's running, because this particular job that I had, it definitely was a little bit more experienced than a typical runner. So usually runners are like filing and running
Kind of like assistant
coffees, like things like that. So I was actually coding litigation documents and putting them into the computer system. And that's something that law clerks do, So I kind of got firsthand experience of something I definitely didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And this was at the end of my senior year. And I kind of was like, oh shit, I've really been putting all my eggs in this basket. Let me try and think and be innovative about what else I can do.
Yeah.
So I had all these like marketing internships throughout college. I had actually worked for this brand called Like to Know It, which
Like to know it.
that's
I like to
all
know more
the
about
like
that brand.
So that's basically the platform that all influencers use to make their products commissionable. So anytime people are posting links on social media for fashion or accessories or even like lifestyle products, usually they're going through Like to Know It or some other commission-based platform. So they
Like to know it. Influencers out there, you want to create a product, Like to Know It. I think you should hit her up because also you help influencers scale their brands and build communities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd worked for them, and then I was like, okay, maybe I should go towards the marketing route. And that's what I did. I ended up in grad school in DC, but COVID happened a semester after I had started, and I basically was doing a lot of freelance social media management for brands that were presenting at New York Fashion Week and LA Fashion Week. So I was working directly with the fashion industry, but I realized that once COVID happened, they were not having runway shows anymore. And there was basically no need for me, at least on site. So I decided to kind of just pivot and start my own just digital media agency. So I was creating websites, I was doing graphic design, I was doing branding, and it was a lot of work.
What gave you the inspiration to do that? Like, was it just the market that was happening with COVID? Did you have someone in your family like inspire you? Like, where did that come from? That's a bold decision.
Right.
I'm gonna start my own agency.
Yeah. So I have such a deep rooted appreciation for people in the hospitality industry. So growing up, my dad owned a jazz club in New Orleans, and I was that little girl sitting bar top with my dad. He's like shooting back whiskey. I'm drinking a Shirley Temple, and I became best friends with all of the waiters and the waitresses and the whole staff at these establishments, because as somebody that had been the daughter of somebody who was working in the jazz club industry, you're going to different restaurants. You're kind of all a big community in New Orleans. So I decided to really start focusing on hospitality brands during COVID because they were struggling the most.
Like, what is some that you work with?
So like restaurants. I was working also with a lot of fitness people. So whether they were just like instructors or they were gyms, it was very well versed. There was a lot of
Yeah.
people that were struggling.
Yeah.
And so it's so crazy because there were so many restaurants and
By the way, are your agency open for hiring? Like if like say a big brand wants to hire you for like a campaign for 3 months, is your agency available to kind of work with the brand? Like how does that work?
so basically what happened was there were so many like restaurants and people that weren't
Yeah.
online previously that needed help. And
Yeah.
I loved doing that. It was so fulfilling for me. But after time went on, I realized that I offered way too many services just for one person to take on. So I ended up working with a business coach and she instructed me to focus on one service that I highly enjoyed
Yeah.
and one service that made me the most profit.
Wow.
And basically, I found out that I loved doing consulting work. I loved working with people face to face. I love being just almost a sneaky business partner in a
Yeah.
sense. So now I do social media consulting and basically help people get higher engagement, land paid brand deals if they're running a personal brand or they're an influencer, and just developing a community as a whole.
Oh wow.
So
That's
that's been really
big.
cool.
And I think, in that space, because I've been in that space for so long, working with so many brand deals, and I realized like some of the brands, like I'm more than just a creator and an influencer or a person who posts content for brands. I have IP
Right.
as far as like in the consultant space or like how to set up events, what they're looking for.
Mhm.
And I think are there many agencies like you out there?
So
I'm not sure there's that do it all, but kind of understand from the inside out.
right. So I work a lot with micro influencers
Okay.
because I think it's kind of crazy.
What's some micro influencers?
Yeah.
Just to kind of preface like what it is, because is it 100,000, 10,000 followers? Like what is a micro influencer?
So a micro influencer is anywhere between like ground zero to 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
After 100,000 followers, you become a macro influencer.
Yeah.
So there is this divide in a way because macro influencers obviously have like it's amazing how much money you can make as a
Yeah.
macro influencer, but as the micro influencer, obviously you're getting paid less. But these brands really appreciate these micro influencers because
Yeah.
let's say they have this huge marketing budget and they don't want to put all of their eggs in one basket
Yeah.
and just give this one big influencer like $50,000,
Yeah.
but they could spread it out amongst
Absolutely.
a bunch of smaller influencers and like maybe have a higher return. It kind of just depends on
Yeah.
what brand it is and what they're trying to achieve. So I think a lot of people think it's impossible to not make money as an influencer unless you're to that caliber.
Yeah.
But I think it's all about collaboration over competition. That is my biggest saying.
Love it.
And I think what I try and inspire people to do is collaborate with their communities, with other creators,
Yeah.
and just get their name out there.
Yeah, collaboration over competition. That's a beautiful name.
Yeah.
And I think we all can help each other, especially when you're in the space. So let's talk about your social media and your social media following. So with all your expertise, information, your TikTok is amazing. You also have a podcast, Martinis and Bikinis, right?
Mhm.
You talk about that, but how did you go about scaling your TikTok, your Instagram? Like, what's your intentions? Like, to someone who wants to be a creator or micro influencer, or maybe a macro, what are some tips you can give them to kind of grow or scale their platform from your perspective?
Absolutely. So I think the number one thing is provide value. So whatever you're putting out there, I have this tactic where I actually have a dream follower that I've created.
Oh,
So this is somebody that I've gotten to know pretty like personally over the last few years, but it's a completely made up person.
Yeah.
So you want to know who their friends are, how do they support them, where do they hang out on the internet, what do they like to do? You get to the nitty gritty of their entire personality, and you can even give them a name.
yeah.
So before you post your content, you're like, oh, would Emma enjoy this?
Yeah.
Would she like really get a lot of useful information out of this? And I think it kind of helps you step out of that ego in a sense and be like, oh, I look good in this picture. This is something that, I really want to put out there because I want so-and-so to see it. It's like, no, like you're putting out this content because it's going to help your community. It's going to help
Right.
people, and they're going to be able to save it and share it and, spread it even wider. But
It's all about the customer and the consumer more
right.
than yourself and your ego.
Absolutely.
So basically what it sounds like, she's using her imagination. You hear that, people? Your imagination, because you're actually thinking out loud, who is my ideal customer? Who is my ideal niche or people that I should serve to? And what do they look like? What do they feel like? by the way, just a little life hack. If AI will tell you that, you can literally create an avatar with artificial intelligence.
So
Like,
crazy.
so say for instance, your average client is micro influencer from 25 to 34. You can literally put that in AI and say, what do people from 25 to 34 on Instagram and TikTok struggle with content engagement?
Yeah.
And they'll give you a list of things to help you help them understand. So the AI world is such a different world, but you're already in it and scaling.
I love that though,
Yeah.
because I think it's so important now as AI is just getting more and more versed and it's just getting up to expert levels.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary sometimes.
It is.
It's so important to not get discouraged by that and think, oh my gosh, AI is coming for me. It's coming to steal my job.
Yeah.
And think, how can I incorporate AI into my career, into my business, and really make it more fruitful that way?
Yeah.
Exactly like you
All it
just said.
is really like school of hard knocks, information overload or information that you need for yourself. It's like reading a book. It's
Right.
like dummies for Instagram, or all you're doing is putting in information that you're curious about, and then it's computing back what it might think could help you.
And saving you time
Save you time
and money.
and money. Right. Because consistency, fast pace is better than nothing happening. So let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about your podcast. By the way, we're at Soho House. We in where you come in at on the elevator, so excuse the noise, but
We're
it's
just
all love. It's
join
like a
the
pop-up
party.
podcast, right? Pivot Talks with Veronica. But
Honestly, so
Yeah.
brand.
yeah, it's all right. So tell us about the podcast, Martinis and Bikinis.
Yeah.
And what's the intentions behind it, and what is it all about? I was on a podcast and we had a great
Such a good
conversation about life, relationships, dating, being on the show, The Bachelor and Bachelorette. So tell me, what is it about, your show, Martinis and Bikinis?
So I had been wanting to start a podcast for God knows how long. And I think that is something that's super important and something that I hope everybody can take away from this is just start even before
Start.
you're ready.
Yeah.
Because I think if you decide to start 10 years down the line and everything's perfect, that's your sign that you started way too late.
Yeah.
So it's been such a learning process and I've honestly had so many learning curves.
How long have you had your show?
Since December of 2022. So it's
Congratulations.
not even a year
Yeah,
old yet, but it's been super fun. I'm almost at 40 episodes. So it's just kind of
Are you filming here while you're in LA?
I am. I filmed one
Oh.
last night actually.
Where at? I saw that on your
Yeah.
story.
Oh my gosh, you have to go there. It's so cool. It's called WTF Media.
Already
Dear
do?
Media actually produces a lot of their content
Okay.
there. They have it here and in New York. So
Yeah.
my friend had done some work there and recommended it. So we went in and I mean,
Yeah.
they already sent me like all of my files, everything. It's-
Already.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
all the podcasters out there, WTF Media, they did a
WTF
great
Media.
job.
WTF Media, bigger talks coming soon to you.
Yes.
So give us a synopsis. Like, what do you talk about the most on your podcast? So what is the intentionality of the episodes?
Right. I think what I have gotten the most out of this podcast is that it's honestly a journey with me and like with my interviewees. It's not necessarily this super curated, like just, you know, we're not necessarily talking about a specific topic. I
Yeah.
like bringing on people that inspire me. And I think that is the number one thing that I've learned is bring on people that inspire you
Yeah.
or people that you just have really good energy with
Yeah.
because that's going to produce really good content.
Absolutely.
Because if you're just bringing on somebody for clout or whatever, it's like you might have like the most bland conversation ever.
yeah.
And I think that's single-handedly the most important thing that I've learned.
Yeah.
But we talk about lifestyle and navigating your 20s and dating and entrepreneurship and all the things that I'm doing and the trial and error of it too.
Yeah.
Like kind of just having the space where everything isn't fine-tuned and perfect. It's kind of a place for everybody to come and learn and grow together. So it's been really fun.
It's beautiful because I think what you're noting to is that go for it, figure it out, learn, do something you're passionate about. Even if you don't have all the information or the expertise, it's only can give you a better experience. So you're going to learn things about yourself you didn't know. So I believe you're in your mid-20s,
Yes,
right?
26.
So anybody that's in their 20s, what is your advice that you should give them from your journey that you've learned so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely oversaid, but
Yeah.
focus on yourself because if you are not internally, emotionally, physically, mentally happy with yourself,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to show up for your community. You're not going to be able to find a partner that is going to match that same synergy, that same energy. And you're not going to be able to produce, like, if you're a content creator or somebody that is having to do that for their business,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to show up as your best self.
Absolutely.
So I think prioritizing that time with yourself is super important because you show up as the best version of you. in your professional life, in your relationships, with your friendships, with your family. And I'm constantly a work in progress, you
Yeah, we
know?
all are. Yeah.
And I think every day I learn something new about myself. And it's just spending that intentional time with yourself. So that way you can go forward into the world and do really cool things and also foster a community.
Self-care, you speak on self-care. Like, what is your self-care routine? How do you take care of your well-being, your
Yeah.
mindset, your energy, your spiritual? Like, what do you do to kind of stay afloat? I mean, because you're an entrepreneur, let's be clear. You
Yeah.
also just moved to New York. You lived in DC for some time.
Right.
So how do you prioritize yourself, and what does your self-care routine look like on a
Yeah.
day-to-day or weekly basis?
Right. I think that there's so many different realms of self-care. You know, some people may think it's getting in the bathtub or getting some sort of procedure or even just journaling and meditating. And I
Right.
think all of that kind of goes together. It's whatever you enjoy doing, you know, and it's kind of how they say learning a language should be. It should be something that's fun for
Okay,
you.
I like that.
They say that that's the easiest way to learn a language is finding a way to learn that's fun for you. And I think it's kind of like that with self-care. If you're not super into journaling and
Yeah.
you know you find it to be boring and you don't find it to be helpful, don't force yourself
Don't
to
do it,
journal every
yeah.
day. But if you like having a conversation with a friend and really just getting down to the nitty-gritty about what you're struggling with and having this like, you know, philosophical talk, maybe that's like your method instead. But for me, I love a morning routine. Obviously, I don't stick to this every single morning. I travel a lot, so I try and maintain it as much as possible, but it's kind of tricky. So I love to do meditations, whether it's from my coach, Rachel. She is amazing. I've worked with like a ton of other people too, and I find it really entertaining for me to
Yeah.
kind of just absorb different types of meditations and practice with breath work. And just, I'm one of those people that can't do the same workout every day. So
Yeah,
I don't know how
mix
I
it
would
up.
expect myself to do the same meditation every day.
And that's something good to point out, because I think when
Yeah.
people try to follow self-care routines and they do the meditation, the journaling, working out, reading books, breath work, which is great, they try to do it like every day. I always say give everything 60 to 90 days.
Mhm.
But if you got to switch it up every other day or every other week or every week, that's fine. And I think even for me, when I'm putting out a lot of advice or information, I don't want you to take everything I'm saying for face value. This is my perspective. Take
Right.
what you need. Just like when you read a book, you don't read the entire book and take all the notes. You take the notes that that you can relate to. And I think I like what you said. I've never heard that before. That I don't do it every day. I mix it up, but that benefits you. And I
Absolutely.
think that was about getting to the bottom of you or for who you are, what makes sense for your life and livelihood. But I remember us having a discussion months ago, because I want to talk about the Noah Collective.
Yeah.
And you said you went to like a psychic or spirit guide or something, and she kind of gave you like some type of inclination or epiphany about the word Noah. Or I don't know. Can you kind of speak on that experience, please?
Absolutely. So I honestly think that's another realm of self-care for me. I
Yeah.
love mediums and
Oh, you
psychics
did?
and tarot and
Oh, we got some
channeling.
cards.
I
Yes.
know.
We're gonna do some.
I saw those whenever I walked in.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yes. The woo-woo in me is just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
exploding. But anyway, I love a good psychic. So my friend Jess Stone, she is phenomenal. She's super well known here in LA. She
Mhm.
works with a lot of health and wellness influencers here. And she actually was on a retreat that I went to in Mexico. It was called Camp Conscious. It was started by the founder of My Girl Wellness, Taylor Burke. They don't do it anymore.
Okay.
She's a mom and she's busy.
Oh, so she doesn't do it anymore.
She doesn't do it anymore.
Oh, okay.
But basically, it was a space where a lot of influencers in the female influencers in the health and wellness space would go to Mexico and they would stay at this villa, and people like Megan Root from the Sculpt Society,
Yeah.
Sammy Clark, Lindsay Harrod, Aubrey Winters, all these like amazing people that I've always looked up to were there. And basically they blend that in with girls that are maybe not even in the influencing space, but are interested in health and
Yeah.
wellness. And, you know, maybe that's something that's in the future for them. And these are just people to, you know, hang out with for a week and hear a panel of speakers and get inspired and all that. But anyway, so I met Jess there and she did a tarot reading for me, and I was blown away by the accuracy because it ended up all coming true.
Yeah.
But I went to see her in LA and I did a channeling session, which I honestly didn't know a lot about channeling. I thought I was like connecting with my
Man, you're probably
angels and like
channeling
lost
yourself.
loved
Yeah.
ones. And that is not what it is at all.
Yeah.
You're basically connecting with your guides, your spiritual guides. So these are people without like a physical form. They have names, and basically they are speaking through Jess on how to kind of construct your life in a positive way. So one of my guides' names was No Way, but it was
Way.
spelled like NOA. And
Oh,
she
wow.
has this like in the recording, which is crazy because maybe 2 months before we had completely solidified the name because it stands for Nature's Own Art. And basically what our line does
Nature's Own Art.
is it's
That's
all animal
phenomenal.
print.
Wow.
So we take on like a modern design and modern innovative way to animal print and put it on our pieces. So we were like, oh, that's the perfect name. It wasn't trademarked. So we were like, all right, stamp of approval. Let's do it. Hadn't shared it on social media, hadn't shared it with really anyone besides like family and friends.
Yeah.
And it was just so crazy that Jess said that because I went back on the recording a few months later and I was just like, that it's still the craziest thing ever. Like I listen to it all the time.
So you forgot that she had told you that.
Yeah.
And you had already.
Because I think at the time I was like, no way, like it wasn't processing, you know? And then I went back and listened and she was like, it's spelled like NOA. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's
But
crazy.
you pronounce it Noah?
Yeah.
Got it. Interesting.
So that was just absolutely amazing. And then actually the last time I was in LA, whenever you came on the podcast, I was here for a month and I went to see a psychic because at the time I was looking for a new environment. I'd been in DC for 4 years. I have this new theory on life that you can't stay. Well, I can't.
Right.
I can't stay in anywhere for longer than a degree.
That's amazing.
And it's kind of just something I made up. I don't know if that's gonna last forever, but anyway, I asked her if I should move. And she basically said, you should move to New York because something is going to fall into your lap. And I was like, that's so weird. Basically, 2 months ago, my mom calls me and she's like, hey, so I know you've always toyed with living in New York. I have this friend of a friend that has an apartment in New York. She usually lives in West Palm Beach and she basically is just looking for somebody to live there and take care of the place. She's going to give you a really good rate if you're interested. She wants to talk to you.
Wow.
I was like, what? Like, so crazy.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And I think, people listening really take this in because I believe the world is becoming spiritual. Because social media has amplified so many different experiences that we don't really experience ourselves, but we experience through other people.
Right.
And so I feel like people are getting a lot of material possessions. They're having money, they're having fame, they're having success, but people are not fulfilled. And I feel like the new thing was taboo for years was like, psychics, tarot card readers, numerology, astrology, human design, all these
Manifestation,
things, manifestation, law of abundance, all these law of attraction. And I think this is a new way or new route or intentions to go. People listening to kind of get some guidance or some internal understanding or what to do or what is your purpose, what gives you meaning or where you should go. Not that you got to take it all on, but I mean, clearly you're speaking to these are two experiences that really help you make life decisions to change your life.
Absolutely.
So with your swimwear brand, how long have you guys been in business?
So since November of 2021, and we've been able to go to New York Fashion Week, which is kind of taboo having swimwear in New York Fashion Week. Yeah. So we decided to go to New York Fashion Week, kind of make this like big entrance, and it was around the time of Mardi Gras. So we made it like this elevated version of what a swimwear show would usually be. So we had handmade masquerade masks with like these crystals that like draped over the models' faces and like metallic cowboy boots and just made it like this really, really cool and interesting show. Kind of made it more artistic as opposed to, just getting someone to walk on the runway and put on a bikini. And it was really cool. It was really cool.
And then that experience, like, I saw like you had so many different models and people. How did you scout your talent? Like, how did you go about that process? Because it looked like a big time fashion show and I loved it. And by the way, I got some shorts. I wore them in France. I was in the south of France and I was getting a lot of compliments. And they were comfortable and the blue was like popping. So
yeah, our guys pieces are honestly our most popular, which is so funny because whenever we were first starting, we thought that the women's pieces were just going to take off.
Yeah, because women always sell and buy.
Well, it's so easy to market to women, and I think for the guys, it's a lot of word of mouth. Yeah. And every single pair that we have came out with, there are multiple people that have bought every single print because they love the comfort of the shorts.
They're comfortable.
Yeah.
And the texture, how they feel on you.
It's all 100% recycled material. It feels like butter.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, so that show was super fun. And the way that we cast our models usually is through the production agency that we go through.
Yeah.
So we went through Fashion Week House, which is a production company that my friend Kachita started. She is phenomenal. I need to connect you to. Yeah. But she's based here in LA and she has this brand called Style on the Spot where she's put on shows for Louis Vuitton and all these
Style on the Spot.
Yeah.
So first, the beginning of the episode, you said, like it to me.
What was it? Like to know it.
Like to know it. And what's the other one? What's
So
the,
she's style on the spot. She puts on events for people here in
this is
LA.
some type of like synergy and pattern with you with these names that are so simple, but yet so big in a way
Yeah,
where they
impactful.
provide for so many people. It's interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all about the name.
Yeah, it's all about the name.
But anyway, it's miracle season.
It's
Great
miracle
name.
season. There you go. It's miracle season, people.
But anyway, she usually will reach out to a bunch of talent agencies and managers and they'll apply.
Yeah.
And then we have this Excel spreadsheet that we'll go through and we'll basically call them and ask, hey, do you want to come model for our show? We're going to New York Fashion Week. We'd love to have you if you'll be in town or if you want to fly in. We want you to walk for us.
Yeah.
Then it goes into a casting process where we basically get them in our clothes or in our swimwear and we do like kind of like a test run. They will walk for us. Sometimes they do it virtually. It kind of depends, but then we'll do fittings and it's kind of like this phase process. You know, there's the phase of them getting started. There's a phase of us calling them and wanting them to come. Then there's the phase of like them previewing their walk for us and then doing fittings and just.
So you understand it all. I guess it's the life of an entrepreneur.
Well, I used to
And the
work
power of
behind the
relationships.
scenes
Yeah, you
too,
have a lot of
so
phenomenal relationships.
yeah, I
that
love
help.
the runway scene. I
Yeah.
think it's fun, and I think a
Have
lot
you,
of
do you
people.
got some footage of you walking?
I walked one time.
You like walking?
Oh God, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, it's a lot, right?
So much adrenaline. I stayed up all night afterwards. Like I was
Yeah.
just so like, oh. But basically, a model ended up not showing up at the last minute, and I had to have 12 looks. So I was just like, well, I'm going to do it because usually what I do for the runway shows is I'll wear one of our pieces with like a blazer set.
Yeah.
So I try to mix in like the businesswoman, but also like the swimwear. And I was like, I'm going to be the last one to walk out. I'm just going to rip off my blazer and I'm going to strut down that runway. But I honestly really overestimated like how crazy or underestimated how crazy it would be. It was nuts. I don't know how they do that all the time.
But you did it.
I have a lot of respect for the models.
So
because of that.
what is your vision? You know, you're independent, you know, you're a businesswoman, you're successful. I mean, your dad was a, you know, entrepreneur, like, but what is your vision and how you see maybe your next, not 3 to 5 years, but your next 6 months to 18 months? Like, where do you want to be? How do you see yourself? Because I see like you've really been a lifestyle like entrepreneur for people who are trying to scale their business through social media and digital media and marketing.
Yeah. So I just moved to New York. So I feel like I'm kind of getting my feet settled in and I'm starting to feel a little bit more grounded. I know
What part of New York are you in?
I'm in the Upper East Side, so I'm an uptown
Okay.
girl.
I love Lower East Side, but Upper East Side is great too.
I love downtown.
Yeah.
I was originally looking there, but then this opportunity fell into my lap and I'm actually so grateful. I love my neighborhood and it's a place that I haven't explored a ton.
Yeah.
But I'm right next to Central Park. I'm right next to the Met, so I can go on my little hot girl walks, get my coffee and walk around Central Park. And it's
you
such a
definitely have a
luxury.
so New York like presence. Like
Really?
I feel like you have that New York vibe.
Oh,
Yeah, because you're very like not straightforward, but you're more like transparent in a way, like you show up.
yeah.
Like you're not like yeah, you know, like DC, New York, like East Coast vibe. You know, usually when you're from the East Coast, it's more like straightforward to the point, very clear. I get you. Right?
It's the Capricorn in me
It's
too.
Capricorn, right? What's your moon and rising? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm a Gemini moon and an Aquarius rising.
Oh wow! So that's where all the spiritual stuff and the psychic stuff, and then you got the moon and the Gemini. You want to travel, you want to have fun, you want to play.
It's all over the place, chaotic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think DC really prepped me for New York, but I think I want to get settled in there and I'd love to develop more of a community there.
Yeah.
Because I think my community in DC has been so amazing and I just want to continue to grow. Like, I don't think there needs to be like a geographical pin on me.
Yeah.
I think I'm one of those people that likes to be well traveled and see different parts of the world.
Say well traveled, well versed, well read.
Yeah.
Diversity, perspective, class, just all these things because it makes you more than just what people see.
Right.
And I think that's why you have a podcast. That's why you have a swimwear brand. That's why you have a business, you know, digital space. But what else have you been embarking on lately? Like, what is something that you're excited or happy about outside of just moving to New York?
Yeah. So I am actually making a big change within the swimwear.
Okay.
So we sold out of everything a few weeks ago, which is so exciting.
Congrats.
Like our complete site is just nothing. It's nuts.
Is it all marketing? Like, how do you go about?
Yeah, so it's kind of organic marketing. We don't do any targeted ads or paid ads. We just, you know, talk about it on our social medias and get people to wear it and, to kind of do it that way. I think influencer marketing has been great for us, but also just like your normal day-to-day girl, like putting on the swimsuit and like posting something on Instagram about it. And I think it's cool just to like see all the different ways that our stuff has been marketed and like what's worked and what hasn't. But I went to Paraíso Swim Week in Miami a few weeks ago. And that was such a cool experience because I got to see all these amazing designers. Yeah, so we actually were there last year at a pop-up, which was super cool. We've never done a runway there, but we've done pop-up shops at the SLS. And basically I got so much oh my God, so much influence, so much inspiration from all these different designers. There was this one line called the Blondes. They've dressed Beyonce, they've dressed Taylor Swift, and they had the craziest theme. It was with Teletubbies, but they had super couture swimwear, and it was just the most beautiful show I've ever seen, even though they added that comedic relief. And I really want to kind of buckle down on our runway appearances and create runway pieces that we can end up selling for like a premium price.
Outside of the swimwear?
So I want to do, I actually want to have these runway pieces that we sell for a premium price that we only make one of them, and you sport it on the runway, and then that's almost a sneak peek as to what our drop is going to be. So we're going to incorporate the prints.
Pieces? 10, 20, 30, maybe
for,
10
for the drop.
For the drop, 5 to 10 pieces.
So for our women's pieces, we want to actually come out with 3 different tops. So we want full coverage, we want plus size, and we want just, our normal, what we've been doing, so that everybody can sport it. And then for our men's pieces, we want to have our swim trunks, but then we also want to have like different lengths. We want to have button downs that match our swim trunks and just incorporate more product.
Swim trunks, that's fly. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been really in the creative process right now, which has been so exciting. And it's not anything that's like super like, oh, I want all these big accolades right now. I don't feel like I'm in that phase of my life. I feel like I'm in this rebirth era in a bit. I'm in like the brainstorming phase and creating. So I'm excited.
So we're gonna pull some cards.
Okay.
In the process of me shuffling so you can pull, I got 2 questions.
Okay.
What's working for you right now, and what's your greatest challenge?
My greatest challenge, I think, is time.
Okay, time. We like that.
I think I really overextend myself sometimes, and I think because of that, I am not spending my time
wisely or intentionally, or maybe just not enough on the things you need to spend time on.
Yeah, and I honestly think that's kind of my critic coming out too a bit, because I think even if we don't feel like we're being productive, sometimes we may be being productive, but like, even for me, I have such a hard time relaxing. So whenever I'm relaxing, I'm almost like fake relaxing, and that's not productive at all. If you want to truly relax, you have to be in that relaxed state. And sometimes that's really hard for me. So that almost makes me feel like I'm wasting time. But I think time is something that I really value, and I'm just trying to find my boundaries with it. Even if it's just like me fixing my relationship with it. But I think that's my number one thing.
Up, having compassion, because you only can do but so much, right?
In comparison to.
But at least you're aware. I think the main thing is you're aware, and you'll want to work on it, and eventually it'll get better because you're putting energy there, because that's where your attention is. And what's working for you right now?
Yeah, what's working for me, I think, is spending time with creative people.
That's really a good answer. What do you get from spending time with creative people? That's a great answer. I've never thought about that.
I feel like the best version of myself. I think that, again, going back to the collaboration over competition, I think whenever you're willing to give your creative energy to somebody else, they're willing to kind of have that output and give it back to you. And it's just creating this cycle of amazingness. I love that cycle of amazingness. But even being here in LA with some friends that are in the creative space, I just feel so much more invigorated and excited going back to New York.
Opens you up. It makes you think. It expands your consciousness. Oh wow, like right now you're saying collaboration over competition. That's making me think, or how you think about being with creative people that answer. I'm like, damn, I never thought of it like that. So kudos to that. But here we go. You gotta pick a card.
Okay.
What is Spirit's telling you?
It's pulling me right here.
Okay, got it.
Actually, no, this one.
Okay, perfect. What does it say?
Okay. My breath connects me to life.
Wow, her breath connects her to life. What do you get from that? What does that mean to you? or what comes up for you when you read that?
So I actually really love this because I know we were talking about meditation and things like that. I guess this is more of a general answer, but I think it's really important to be present and
We just talked about that.
yeah. And even just taking time to like breathe and just settling in and remembering to be grateful for everything that's going on in your life. But yeah, I think we just forget to breathe sometimes. I actually just had this amazing woman on my show. It's
What's her name?
Well and Wonder Studio in DC. It's the first yoga studio slash hemp dispensary in DC.
Hemp. Wow.
So basically it's for all like the rich Georgetown moms. They go do yoga and then it's like this dispensary, but they have a class on Fridays called Hang and Heal where they give you a free gift with the purchase of a class. So they'll give you an edible or CBD or whatever, and then you take this yoga class. But it's my friend Carol that started it, and she's 51. She was a sports broadcaster. She had her own program on the ESPN network, and now she's just the owner of this yoga studio, and it's amazing. But she just reminded me to remember to breathe, even if it's just like taking little sips of air every minute you remember, you know, like, oh, I haven't breathed in a long time. Like, let me pour that in real quick.
It's so crazy because the vibe of the day with Vince Carter said, I take the time I need to breathe. So I'm going to read this out.
Okay.
My breath connects me to life. And yoga teaches, this spoke on yoga, breath is known as prana, which is in another word, life force. The ancient yogis saw no distinction between breath and life force. And today, the universe is encouraging you to tune into the power of your breath. Yeah, we breathe without thinking, yet when things get tense or overwhelming, there's a good chance we deprive ourselves of what we need most, air. Air holds the life force of the universe, and when we become aware of our connection to it, we create a pathway to guidance, support, and even abundance. Today, you're being guided to take more breathing space in your life. When too many things are piled into your schedule, you breathe. Your breath, can become shallow. Your energy can be spread thin, and eventually you can feel drained. So take note of your breath. If you're holding it or restricting it while doing tasks in your daily life, know that that's not fully in alignment with your being. Take your time to breathe. You weren't born to live with a half full cup. You're here to breathe with ease and live a life that is full of purpose, connection, and enjoyment. Veronica, vibe of the day. I take the time I need to breathe.
I love that.
Yeah, so this was great. Yeah, people breathe. Take your time. I mean, I need that as well because as East Coasters, we're always on the go. We're running like energy, let's go. But I have this saying for most of my clients before we get into our discussion or session, tell them to hug themselves and take a deep breath.
I'm gonna do that.
I'm well, I'm safe, I'm loved.
I love that.
I'm well and safe, I'm loved. And then it's like you set the tone for the conversation or the session.
I love
we
that.
get right into it.
I'm totally doing that from now on.
So can you leave us with any motivational inspiration for the people listening that's going to watch and hear this podcast that you can give for them to stay motivated and inspired on that journey of self-fulfillment or just life itself?
Yeah, I think going back to what I was saying earlier, even about meditating and self-care, find ways to do things in life that make it fun.
Yeah.
And I think if you're feeling stagnant in your career or within your relationships, it's time to branch out, have fun with it, experiment. You know, even now that I'm in New York, I don't know too many people, but I'm choosing to have fun with it and like go out and meet new people and just jump in head first and just trying to be better, like at least 1% every day, you know, whether that's fostering a community or building on my brands, you know, just doing one thing that's going to inch me closer to those goals, but also remember to have fun because at the end of the day, if I'm not having fun, what is the point? We have one life and it's meant to be enjoyed. And YOLO.
No, seriously, I was just listening to an episode on YouTube by Eric Thomas, and he was talking about being singular. Like instead of being all these different peoples, he was like, he said, I'm gonna give it to you guys. Like you're gonna die. Like, you're gonna transition, y'all. You're gonna leave this earth. So you're stressing over what? Like what? Like you're gonna die. Like it's okay. So he said, I don't care if you get the $1 million house, you get the career you want, you're gonna go. So people, as she said, live, have fun, be curious, jump in. And I like to say, sometimes you gotta leap to get the faith. Sometimes you gotta jump in something uncomfortable to kind of get faith that you're gonna be okay.
Right.
And so with this episode, guys, thank you for listening. Veronica, thank you for being here. But can you share your social media channels, how we can get in contact with you? How can we get some of your services? Where can we find you?
Absolutely. So if you want to be friends, you can hang out with me on Instagram or TikTok. It's at Veronica Drouila. That's VeronicADroulia.
Let's get it.
And if you are interested in becoming a micro influencer or starting your own brand from the ground up, you can hit me up on www.contentconfidant.com with an E on the end. So you can find us on Instagram too. It's at Content Confidant, CONFIDANTE. And you can shop our swimwear once we come out with our next collection. You can go on our website and join our email list for updates and events and launches. And that is noathecollective.com. So, and listen to Martinis and Bikinis.
Martinis and Bikinis. This is a Bigger Talks episode. We out. Make sure you subscribe, download, and follow her on social media. Get the Noah Collective and get the podcast. Yes. We out. Peace, love, and gratitude.
Bye.
Bye. I love that.